Okay, as we continue our conversation on things to do as practices you can be doing in the school for everyone, composting. We're going to talk about, we talked about vermiculture, and now we're going to just look at our bigger composting systems outside. So this is an Elliot Coleman practice I learned on my bigger farm. I did add a twist to it, but basically Elliot Coleman talked about composting where you're going to use the compost. So we have 4 systems on our property strategically placed so that there's a composting system close by no matter where you're working. This is one that we just used this year, so we're starting it over again. And the Elliot Coleman part is the creating the walls with hay bales, or I should say straw bales, sorry. And going about 4 high, capping off the top and allowing it to sit and break down over time. Now, because we're not turning it or watering it, it takes longer for it to finish, about 2 years. So this one is just now 2 years old. But we're starting it over and it will be finished again in 2 years. So making the walls first with the straw and adding walls as our ingredients start to pile up. But what I added is the trellis around it because it makes sense to me that in an urban setting we want to use trellising whenever we can to maximize our grow space. So growing up is good, and it seems like the base of this would be super fertile because of all the breaking down that's going on even during this 2 years. So it's worked out really well. Now this one is just been planted. You can see the stuff is starting to climb on one side, and we've started to put plant matter in. So just a reminder, whenever you're making a compost pile, and this is the #1 consulting subject that I work with, is people tell me their composting piles aren't working. Well, and that's almost always, well, it is always because the recipe's not right. So if you look at our recipe, this is the most simplistic way to think about it. Carbons are browns in nature, things that are brown, things that were alive that are now dead. Nitrogens are the greens of nature, things that are still alive. And if we combine those in a ratio of 1 part, we're calling this energy material, which is the nitrogen, and 2 parts bulking agents, which are the carbons, and then we need to add air and water. The more close our ingredients are to this recipe, the faster it'll break down. And then stirring is what brings in the air, and of course rain or artificially, or sprinkling can add the water. One thing about city water is that there's a lot of chlorine in it, and so it's not ideal. So I keep a tub close by where I can fill it up and allow the chlorine to dissipate and then throw water on when it gets really dry, if I want to. But yeah, so this is the way we started out, and I want to move over and show you one that has gotten quite large and will finish probably next year. But in order for them to finish, you have to stop adding to them. So you have to give them that 2 years of breakdown time. So actually I wouldn't have one that'll finish next year because both of the other ones that are larger are still being added to. So I have to stop adding to it and then allow the breakdown time of 2 years and then use it. So the goal is to create that system so that every year you have 1 finishing and 1 starting. So whatever your needs are or your material available is to make that system work is what your goal is. Here we are at our largest compost center or system. It's built the same way with the locust poles and a trellis around. Started the same way with 4 stacked up straw bales, but they've already disappeared from the breakdown. And you can see the amount of finished and unfinished. So this one probably would do well to be just covered with a tarp or even a thick layer of straw and just allowed to finish off It might not even take 2 years for this guy. It's looking like it's really broken down. But you can see that there are beans, pole beans growing all around it. So it is also already doing its work of fertilizing and adding to the production. Any questions about composting? Have you guys had any great successes that you want to share, or challenges? Yes.
This isn't directly about composting. Chlorine in the city water.
Yes.
On average, how long do you have the water sit out until you feel like the chlorine has dissipated?
Well, if it's open, it only takes a couple hours.
Okay.
Yes. So all the water that we give our animals ideally would sit for a couple hours before we gave it to them. I know we have gotten out of the habit on our chickens, but we do have watering cans that we try to fill. So we're actually filling at the end of the chore instead of the beginning of the chore, so that we always have it ready. That's ideal.
Okay.
Yeah. So it only takes a couple hours. But, you know, if we're getting regular rain, and again, just like the vermiculture, ideally 75% moisture is where you're going to get the fastest breakdown. So yeah, so that's...
Are you building in the exact same format here, or had it been, has it moved around this little quadrant?
No, this is the spot, the exact spot. What we did was added that as a guild project at the end of the school year. There's some apple trees there, and we've had a tremendous problem with bindweed, which you can see starting up again. So we've done a couple different things here, but no, this has been the location. And
this framework has lasted for years.
Yes, so these were trees that were thinned out of a tree farm kind of situation, a forest, a managed forest, and they're all hardwoods. So these have been in here, I'm trying to remember when we started, when we put this first one up. 4 years probably, so this is the second round on this one. Third round on this one. So yes, you want to make sure you have hardwoods, and I believe these are locusts. So they are known for being great fence posts. So yes, and a lot of the infrastructure here is it has been gotten from various donations, estate sales. Yeah, so there are ways to get things done at an affordable price.